Hello, hello. My name's Eric, and this is a video guide for the Dreglord Expedition No Hit Run. It'll be some general tips and some not so general tips for this expedition. For day 1 and 2, I'll be trying to share as much info as I can that'll hopefully help you get this run, regardless of the Nightfarer you choose to play as. I'm going to assume you are familiar with all of the enemies on the map and how to fight them. Let's start by defining the run. Number 1, the character we'll be playing as. For prideful reasons, I chose to do this run with Executor. However, you're free to attempt it with whatever Nightfarer you like, as long as you are confidently skillful at them. My personal recommendations would be Wilder, Iron Eye, or Duchess. Number 2. The Dreglord has 60 potential map seeds. 20 DLC Limveiled seeds, 5 DLC Shifting Earth seeds for each Shifting Earth event, and 20 DLC map seeds for the Great Hollow. Personally, I don't like going in blind and hope the RNG is in my favor. So I looked over all the map seeds, for which I will leave a link in the description, and found the one that I believe might be the best one. My criteria for a good map in general is how easy are its Night 1 and 2 bosses, can I guarantee level 15 by the end of day 2, and how lucky do I need to be to get it by rolling for it. However, for the Dreglord, I uniquely had one more thing to account for, which is the unavoidable rot during the fight. While it is definitely possible to kill him fast enough to avoid it, I wanted something guaranteed. So I looked over the Rot Forest maps and found this one that checks all the boxes. Note that this is not particularly required. The unavoidable rot proc during the Dreglord boss fight is not considered a hit. Number 3, the relics. The relics don't matter too much, feel free to use whatever you think is best. Now, I'll be going over my strategy and route for the map that I have chosen. I will be going over every part as in depth as I can. My general strategy will be to farm the Crucible Knights for runes, grab the Favor of Rot, kill a few great enemies, then make my way to the final circle, taking the safest path possible. Here I decide to go kill the lion first before heading to the castle because fighting the crucibles at level 4 is a whole lot better than fighting them at level 2. There, that was a parry, but sometimes it bugs out on certain attacks against certain enemies. The lion is one of them. It looks like a block, it's not. By looking at the stamina, you can check and see that it wasn't a block, because I would have had a lot less stamina afterwards. So yeah. As for the lion fight, there's nothing really special about fighting him. You can basically roll at the timings that I'm parrying at and try to position yourself properly to grab the crit because it can miss, and basically touching him at all while he's vulnerable for the crit immediately wakes him up from it, and you can, miss out on some damage early on. I like to check the scarab in this specific spot. There's like something like a 50% chance of it, spawning there. Sometimes you get some good, sometimes you don't get nothing useful. Here I get a tree favor, which is, nice for the extra stamina, I guess. Here I make sure to run along the wall so that I don't aggro the demi-humans too much. so that they don't follow me up the stairs for the first Crucible night. The Crucible Knights are fairly simple to fight. You can roll their everything. However, if you're playing Executor specifically, I highly advise you learn the attacks that you can guard counter. Um, some attacks, even though sometimes they seem safe and sometimes they are, they can decide to specifically combo in a way that going for a guard counter can easily mean you getting hit um, with an attack combination that almost rarely ever happens. So watch out for that. My best recommendation is that just take the guard counters for when they're doing the stomp move like this one. There you can always safely guard counter and there as well. And I'd say everything else, either go for an R1 or just don't retaliate with anything and just wait for this attack specifically, and it'll make the fight go a lot easier and I guess less risky. I decide to go level up before continuing on with the Crucible Knights. I am on a time budget right now to clear out all the Crucible Knights that are going to be outside of the circle before it's too late. Um, and definitely leveling up with the runes that I had is for sure more optimal than just doing it level 4 or level 5. Really is basically fight the same as the Ordovices. One key difference though is that they can be a lot scarier when fighting with Executor uh, because you're gonna be wanting to go for the guard counters. However, there is a chance that they will do a specific attack combo that can get you hit um, if you basically get unlucky with that specific combo. My best advice is that to never guard counter a Cerulean Crucible Knight unless their uh, spear comes at you overhead or it's on their left side. If it's on their right side, there is very much a chance that they will continue their combo with a quick double stab right away. And if you go into a guard counter during that, there's no way for you to parry in time. I chose this map specifically, um, well, partially because it has Crucible Knights. They offer a lot of runes, and it basically guarantees me level 10 or level 11, if I'm fast enough, um, by the end of night one. Potentially even level 12, depending like if I got any extra runes, or if I picked up a golden scarab and stuff like that. Here I decide to make a pit stop by the church, because it has the holy element, and there's a chance I could get a weapon pickup with an Ash of War that boosts my damage, like Golden Vow, Shared Order, and stuff like that. For quite a few attempts, I developed the strategy of buying these fire pots from the merchant before going into the night one boss fight, just so I can safely clear out these basilisks and not get overwhelmed by a Deathblight buildup. The Death Knights can be a little scary, but they can be effectively scripted. The one with the double axes has this unique three-piece combo: 1, 2, 3. They can just freely roll, get behind him, take a backstab, a few R1s, and then roll away. And then if you time your roll perfectly, you'll phase behind him with the unique dodge for the grab attacks and grab another backstab immediately and get a free kill. Now, as for the one with the Great Axe, he has two attacks that you can bait out from distance to grab a free backstab. The dash one was one, and the other one is the one where they jump up in the air that you can just, easily roll, get behind them, and then grab a backstab as well. Practicing this boss fight is definitely recommended. You don't want to mess up your backstabs on them because once they enter phase 2, after the grab, they will start using some other attacks more aggressively, and it can be a little scary to dodge them. This map seed happens to have a Noster invasion on day 2, which happens roughly 5 minutes into the day 2 cycle. I found out after some testing that if I go stand at a specific location, I can basically, manipulate where Noster spawns to have him spawn at a more favorable location than something like inside of the rot forest. You know, that would make it harder to, you know, make my way to him while avoiding the bugs, while also avoiding the scary sections of the rot forest. This is the spot here. It's fairly safe. Nothing can aggro to me, and I can just wait out the clock for Noster to spawn, so that I can have him spawn exactly where I want him to. Um, there is a frenzy giant behind me. He's a fairly easy kill. I was way too deep into attempts to take any risks at that point. But if you're playing something like Iron Eye, it'll be a very free kill and potentially, something useful out of the dormant power. For this map seed specifically, if you stand by the Frenzy Giant camp, Noster will always invade at this specific location, which I think is most favorable for this map. Here I stopped by the merchant village. It's always a good idea to do so. There's always a ritual sword talisman to pick up, a pouch if needed, and some uplifting aromatics, which also boost your damage, and definitely the +2 smithing stone. It's easier to just buy it instead of having to go into the mines for it. Also, keep an eye on the Zamor guy in the lake because he can aggro from all the way out there and start making his way towards you. And yeah, you don't want to get jumped. Now I already know where the favor of the rot is going to spawn, the flower. Um, I suggest to take in the same path that I'm about to take. It's fairly safe and nothing will aggro and chase you down. Now, when you decide to jump down for the flower here, I suggest you do the same as I do here and jump inside the trunk of this tree right here because of you see the dog on the left right there. Um, just, just in case he decides to aggro, if you jump in there, he won't. I found out you can hop over these branches here and avoid having to lap around and risk the kindred fellows aggroing onto you. Now I'm going to be making my way over towards the second circle. However, I will be stopping by for two great enemies. Um, Again, I suggest you take the same path as I do. It's fairly safe. Um, Basically keeps you away from everything. You don't have to worry about any wandering Caden warriors or anything. However, there is one kindred guy that's going to be wandering along the way. Hopefully, you've picked up something ranged to pick him off for free. And if not, I guess good luck. Here, if I didn't have this great bow, I would have immediately just ulted and just roared at him from distance, killing him safely. It knocks him down every time. Uh, I don't like messing with these kindred fellas. Here, I get lucky and the tree drops me a Rivers of Blood. Had it not, I would have been equally prepared to take on the Dreglord with the setup I have with the relics um, and the base katana that I have. However, having Rivers of Blood for the Dreglord, it makes the fight infinitely easier and takes away all of the RNG in Phase 1. The Bell-Bearing Hunter is another boss fight I suggest practicing. Um, he's fairly simple with Executor. If you just parry his attacks, he goes down really fast. However, if you are coming at him from distance and he happens to see you, you have one of two options. Either hide behind something and wait for him to de-aggro and then walk in. Or, if your rolls are on point, you can just go straight for him. However, do be careful that he can decide to use his ranged attacks with his weapon, and the hitboxes on that one is, it's never, that clear, mainly because of the geometry in this map. The sword can like go into the ground and still hit you, so I highly suggest practicing him for sure. Coming at him from behind, from an angle where he doesn't see you, is definitely optimal. Here I hug the tree as I make my way into the spot to avoid the wandering kindred that was behind me as I walked in. The upcoming fight is going to be with Artorias, which is preceded by a bunch of burnt shadow people from Elden Ring's DLC. Uh, they are definitely scarier to deal with than Artorias himself. especially if you don't have anything ranged. Luckily here I do have Rivers of Blood on me, and I do have a bow, which will make clearing them out uh, a lot safer. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you happen to decide to do a rot map for this expedition, like I did, and let's say you're playing some other Nightfarer that can, handle whatever is thrown at them, and you happen to get the seed where the rot flower spawns on the far end of the rot forest, all the way on the farthest right side of the map. I do have a video for that specific seed, showing you a path, a safe path from the grace that sits outside of the rot forest all the way to the rot flower and out of the forest safely without having to aggro anything scary that can, whether chase you down or hit you from afar. I will be leaving a link to it in the description. And now when Artorias comes crashing down, uh, you can get hit. So you can either roll it, which is very precise, or if you have your ult, you can just iframe through it. A general tip for uh, deflecting Artorias with Executor is that every time he decides to do an overhead attack, feel free to guard counter. But whenever he decides to do a horizontal swipe, you never guard counter. And now when he decides to phase transition, the best move is to run back towards the edge of the arena and wait out the humanities. He'll come running for you like this, but he won't attack immediately. He'll have to scream first. And if you are standing close to him, he'll do that immediately. And then you have to worry about him attacking you and the humanities coming after you. Every time you crit him, you can go for at least 4 R1s. Here I was hoping to kill him with the L2, but he decided to iframe me. And now when Artorias is doing this combo, I suggest before the last hit, you start walking to the right, which is now, so you can reliably deflect it, lest you either get hit or block it. And for this attack, always dash after the overhead slam. You have enough time to dash if you take the guard counter after the overhead slam. Also, another boss that I suggest you practice quite a bit, um, especially if you're not playing Executor. He has quite a few attacks that requires really good movement, like the triple overhead attacks that um, ignore iframes. Now the Dreglord. For this fight, I had two strategies ready ahead of time. One where I would nuke him fast enough that I don't have to worry about the zombies, and one backup strat where I know that I don't have enough damage to nuke him, and then luck would be a factor in the fight. I'll be going over the first one in this video, and maybe make a video on the latter sometime in the future. Now, for the Dreglord fight, usually there's a spot that I jump over to conserve stamina while I'm running towards him. You'll see me stand just before it to buff up. It's a plank on the ground. You can reach this plank and then just jump, and you won't be spending any stamina while the boss wakes up. And you'll have a little bit more stamina to start attacking him right away. For this boss fight specifically, I like to start off with the uh, Cursed Sword and take a fully charged R2. Uh, Executors fully charged R2s with katanas and the Curse Blade do roughly 38 poise damage, which makes the first crit, like this one, come out rather fast. Now here I was surprised by how much damage I was doing. I knew that this first phase is gonna go by so fast. I basically skipped having to deal with the meatballs, with the zombie summons, skipped immediately to the Rot Rain, for which I have the Favor of the Rot, and then Rivers of Blood to just clean up the fight super fast. And now, you could start off the fight with Rivers of Blood. Uh, After so much practice, I've learned to not spend the status effects on him right away and save it for the second half of phase one, so that I can kill him rather fast. Here I was lucky that I had so much damage, I basically skipped all of the first half of phase one immediately to the Rot Rain, and then I knew with the Rivers of Blood I can just bleed him to death very fast. Here you need to make distance at the start of this phase and always keep moving. After every shout, at least two puddles of rot will spawn underneath you. And walking back near where he starts off in this fight is best to set up for some charge attacks at around half HP. The best strategy for fighting him in this phase is to always, stay behind him, so that he is forced to go back to neutral after every attack, and you don't have to worry about long combos. When he decides to scream, you have to roll it because it is a hit, and it counts as damage for damageless. Rivers of Blood is just carrying this fight, by the way. Another tip I have is to always roll his attacks towards either of his shoulders to avoid any potential fast attacks like the double swipe that's going to come up soon. Now, when he reaches 50% health, which is going to be in a little bit, he'll sit and start roaring for an extended period of time, which is a perfect opportunity to start building some stance damage on him, especially that I know I need to kill him as soon as I reach the last third of his health. Now, setting up for a stun with these charge attacks here basically will help guarantee me getting the kill on him quickly afterwards, because he is going to be in range to do the rod attack and the big slams on the ground. Here, I get lucky with the setup, and he gets stunned immediately. I grab the crit with the Curse Blade because it does more crit damage. I narrowly dodge the explosion from the rot puddle underneath my feet, and that's GG. That's the run. As I mentioned before, I do have a backup strategy for if you didn't get any uh, passives that increase your damage, or you didn't get rivers of blood that would make this fight go a lot easier, especially for phase one. The strategy can even work if you didn't pick up the Rot Favor um, from the Rot Forest. I'll probably make a video on that sometime later. Um, I'll go a lot more in depth about the fight and breakpoints with numbers and like how many attacks, when do I set up for a stun, how do I avoid having to deal with the zombies that spawn, and a whole bunch of the RNG for the fight and how to basically minimize it. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful at all. Leave me any questions if you have in the comments, and good luck out there.